Hello and welcome to Freedom Through Astrology, where we're giving you the keys. And as you can see, my camera is still screwed up. So I'm just going to minimize this and drag it off into the corner. It's freedomthroughastrology.com. I'm your astrologer. My name is Donald Patak. There's my email information, standard YouTube copyright. Keys to the reading, because I do astrology just a little bit differently. I read what's called constellation-based astrology, sometimes called true sidereal. It's astrology by the visible sky. Tropical astrology fixed the signs to seasons almost 2,000 years ago. The constellations keep moving. It's called precession of the equinox, which is how we get into the age of Pisces and are moving toward the age of Aquarius. So I am reading the planets in the sky where they really are. And in doing astrology by the visible sky, there's also a missing sign that's been taken out, and that's the symbol of a fucus. It's between Scorpio and Sagittarius. It's the symbol of the wounded healer. The symbol is of a person holding a snake by the head and the tail. Snake in ancient times symbolized knowledge. So when you have it by the head and tail, you are controlling knowledge, and you're using it ideally to heal yourself, and then being able to heal others with similar wounds. And in doing visible sky astrology, I use the natural size of the constellations. Some people make each sign the same amount. 13 signs is a little more challenging, but in the visible sky, the constellations are all over the place. Virgo in her glory is just under 50 degrees. Scorpio, Libra are each individually less than 25. The constellations are all different sizes thanks to the wisdom of Mother Nature. So I read that. I also use the astrological midpoints. Athan Shimenti noted when he was looking at the IAU boundaries that there were stars from one constellation being pushed into a different one. And he said, that's not right. So what he did was he looked at the zodiac belt, where's the last bright star of constellation A, first bright star of constellation B. What's the midpoint? And went with it. And he did that for each border between the signs. I think it's more accurate. Keys to reading part 2. I interpret using evolutionary astrology, which says these transits are lessons to learn. You have freedom of choice how you're going to respond to these lessons. You can take the high road or you can take the low road. You have freedom of choice. I will present potential outcomes. These are the weekly lessons, weekly edition. So these are universal lessons for all people here on Earth. So do have some compassion on your fellow Earth travelers. Dates and times are based on the Eastern U.S. time zone, as I live outside of Buffalo, New York. I'm operating within 1 degree of exact, so things you may notice a little bit more intense before and a little intense before and after. That's fine. I'm reporting when they will be most intense. And the software I use is Capricorn by Prometheus. And my kittens are being crazy. So these are the weekly transits for October 27th through November 2nd. I do apologize for these being late, but I back into teaching, and that is being more exhausting this year than I remember. So I'm just working on getting myself back into a routine. But and past weeks, we get calm weeks. This week is incredibly intense. There's a lot going on. The sun is finishing up Virgo, self-improvement, having and looking for a more ideal version of yourself, and what can you do to get there. The moon is actually our piece of stability for the week, if you can believe that, moving from Sagittarius through to Pisces. So Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces. It's actually relatively stable, which is going to be good. We do have the first quarter moon in Capricorn on Wednesday at 11:22 a.m. Eastern time. Your mileage may vary. Adjust for your time zone, please. But that's the first challenge of this cycle. And the thing is, it's the sun in Virgo, moon in Capricorn, two very powerful energies about getting stuff done. We do have a sign change this week, which is really going to be potent. Mercury enters Scorpio. So we'll talk about that. Our active planets on the inner planets, Mercury, Venus, and Mars show up like you would not believe this week. A lot of transits. When we get to the planning page, I will show that to you. And those are the inner planets. And the outer planets are Uranus and Jupiter. And the inner planets will be triggering two patterns, a grand trine and a T-square. So it's going to be very intense energy this week. And retrograde planets. We have a little retrograde parade going on. Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Chiron are all retrograde. Let me get my doodle tool going. And this is this upcoming week. And anything above this dotted line is from last week. Anything below is new this week. And as you can see, there's a lot going on. We still have these long transits featuring Uranus. One of them is ending, thankfully, but we still have that long Uranian Neptunian episode going on. Jupiter squaring Chiron. We do have a holdover from last week with Mars trining Jupiter. So I mean, Martian energy is going to be very strong in that respect. But starting this week, Mercury, plus the sign change on Wednesday. A lot of Mercury energy right there. And then let me get my color changed for Mars. We do have Mars here. And again, a Mars Saturn there. Oops. Oh, well, life happens. And then Venus shows up. I mean, we have the inner planets are just showing up incredibly powerfully this week. So we have learning, intellectual learning and communication. Mars with learning courage and assertiveness. Venus, which is relationship skills and creativity, and sometimes just plain old rest and recreation. All of those are making a ton of aspects. And you'll notice Wednesday, oops, let me change this color here. Wednesday, a lot happening on Wednesday, will be very intense. It didn't change. Oh, well. I clicked on red. Thank you. Wednesday will be very intense because we do have that first quarter moon in Neptune. Plus, we have the Mercury entering Scorpio, and then the Mars triggering a grand trine with both Jupiter and Saturn. And on top of that, where is it? Might as well. Jupiter says me too again, and we have Jupiter trining Saturn. So a lot happening here. We start adding in the outer planets as well. And then this weekend, Saturday into Sunday, we have Venus triggering a T-square to Jupiter with Chiron. So again, that's Saturday into Sunday. And again, we're going to have a lot happening. It's going to be a very busy week. Sorry, Kit. Yes. I also have Kit on my lap. She is not doing well. Not sure what happened. She had a litter of kittens. She lost them, but then she started losing weight like you wouldn't believe, and getting her taken care of. All right, so let me close this out. So as you can see, this week is going to be very, very intense. And it's like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday-ish. But then you got the Saturday and Sunday, steamroller carrying on. Quite a bit going on here. So from last week, from August, still, we have Uranus retrograde, sextiling Neptune retrograde. So your individuality is creating an interest in your spirituality. So finding that peace and stability that comes from being your authentic self is supporting your ability to be spiritually present and in the moment. Yeah, and this can help you find that deep inner peace. People are looking for find peace in their life. Well, the first place to find it is in your inner world. And when you're more authentic, that supports you developing your own spirituality. I'm not talking about religions, which is the rules of man. This is how you connect yourself to the divine. And the only way to do that is to be your authentic self. The shadow here is when you're not who you really are, when you're either acting out to get a reaction or selling out to try to fit in. That leads to just confusion, a desire to escape or numb the pain of an empty and meaningless life. And you can feel stuck in an illusion in living one while you're at it. I do have, it started back in August, ends in December. I have this exact because we do have changes in retrograde. So when that happens, of course, we will talk about it. Back from on October 15th, Jupiter and Gemini squaring Chiron retrograde. So this is the opportunity to learn supporting your internal healing. Pay attention to what's going on around you and what information is being presented to you, and how can you use the support. Squares are challenges that are designed to strengthen you and support you. Strengthen you in particular. How is those new information and insights strengthening your ability to heal? And it's internal. And don't think I have to dig anything deeper into that. Yeah. The shadow here, Jupiter and Gemini, crisis and confidence in your ability to learn and communicate. Squares here are a crushing burden, and their crushing burden leads to a deeper wounding of yourself first, and you can also wound other people with this knowledge. So do be careful of that. And it can also, I have in my notes here, result in a loss of the self on a deep level. And ending this week, Uranus retrograde in Taurus, trining Pluto in Capricorn. Wow. So that internal work of you finding peace and being your authentic self is supporting. Trines are supports. Little energy goes a long way. So this is supporting your ability to do the deep work of transformation and change. Pluto is the planet of transformation. I really should have updated that to be, because Pluto is no longer retrograde. It is direct now, so pardon about the retrograde symbol there. But Pluto is now this, when you become more authentic, it helps you do that deep work of transformation and becoming who you really are. And deep healing as well. But I didn't delete that, did I? I hope I didn't. Oops. I did accidentally. But when you're in the shadow, very simple. When you're fake and not who you really are, that leads to a downward slide and into deeper wounding, frustration, loneliness, and isolation. So when you're fake, you're hurting yourself deeply. Sunday, the moon enters Sagittarius. Emotionally, you're up for something that interests you and excites you, piques your curiosity. Open up to new opportunities in your life. Pay attention to what's presented to you and have fun with it. Sagittarius ruled by Jupiter, fun. Get up, go out, have fun. Shadow here is rigidly defending the status quo, becoming self-righteous, leaves you stuck in an unfulfilling and meaningless past. And it can be emotionally frustrating. And also ending this week, Mars in Libra, trining Jupiter in Gemini. This is going to be a part of the grand trine. I'm using one degree of exactness because that's when the energy is most intense. However, if I was using a wider orb than 1 degree, this would definitely show up like in a birth chart as a grand trine. So I will talk about that. But having the courage, learning assertiveness in uncertain situations, and this is a kind of having that courage to be assertive and face uncertainty is supporting your ability to learn and be open and being able to communicate and listen and pay attention. And it can help you to develop healthy faith and belief in yourself, and also taking actions that help you to develop your potential. Be open to unexpected insights and information that can help you fuel your success as well. That 28th and 29th, and I'm just looking at that real quick. The 28th is going to happen the exact is going to happen very early on the 28th, and the leaving where it's out of that 1 degree. It'll be late on the 29th. Probably should have put that in there. The shadow here is falling into fear. And that fuel, ghost and tuxedo, cut it. Falling into fear leads to a crisis of confidence. And yeah, ghost and tuxedo are two brothers that don't always get along. So this they're going to explode in a second. Hold on, let me pause. Okay, I just had to separate two of my cats. So falling into fear leads into a crisis of confidence, and it can play out in these pointless victim struggles. Foolish decisions can feed the fear and lead to life feeling like disorganized, purposeless, and just greater uncertainty. Monday, yesterday, take a breath. Remember to exhale. Repeat. We all need our breaks. Enjoy them. Tuesday, which is when I'm recording this, this is when the intensity starts. Mercury in Libra. Mercury's going to start in Libra and then move into Scorpio during this transit. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about the Scorpio energy here, but Mercury is going to be trining Neptune retrograde. So Mercury in Libra is being open to looking at all these different perspectives. And when it moves into Scorpio, you're picking one and just taking a deep dive. This is mental intensity. It's I always say Scorpio is Toto the dog, because in The Wizard of Oz, when they're in Oz and like, I am the great and powerful Oz, what's that curtain? Don't look behind the curtain. Everybody's falling fearful, and Toto says, screw this, and pulls the curtain back. That's Scorpio. Scorpio is pulling back that curtain and seeing what's behind it. So mentally, you're digging deep and exploring things more deeply. I'll talk about that. But that mental depth and exploring things deeply is supporting your internal spiritual journey. So be open to that. Curiosity can support spiritual growth and development. Now, this uncertainty leading to confusion, not really confusion, but disorganized, purposeless, and then slipping into fear and suspicion. Again, that feeds fantasy, a desire to escape, living in illusion, or maybe you think you received this insight from above when it's really just fear speaking to you or something. I don't know. Falling into this fantasy and falling into illusion and delusion. But being mentally defensive, indecisive, and losing perspective leads to a desire to escape from life, or at least numb the pain, and trying to hide away and get away. And here we go. This is this wonderful grand trine. Mars in Libra trining Saturn retrograde in Pisces. So we do have that Mars. Let me get my doodle tool here. We do have Mars already in that trine to Jupiter. Jupiter at the end of this, during the Tuesday, Wednesday, is going to be trying to Saturn. And then on top of that, I probably should have chosen a different color for that, but there we go. Now we have this, and you have three planets that are trining each other. It is an incredible opportunity for for power happening. But let me explain this. Mars and Libra trining Saturn. Having that courage to deal with these different perspectives is supporting your ability to mature and grow and understand things from a higher perspective. Saturn, the planet of maturity, and taking action. Let me pull something up here real quick. Blah, blah, blah. Where is that? There we go. Here we go. Yeah. The ability to work with unexpected insights can help you grow in your spiritual and inner life. Be open minded to what is presented to you and have the courage to work with it. The linchpin here is that courage to deal with these multiple perspectives. And as you're dealing with learning to handle that, that opens the door for the opportunity to learn, which opens the opportunity, and all that opens up the opportunity for you to mature. The shadow here is this is falling into fear, a crisis of confidence, and Saturn becomes a control freak. There's something else I wanted to say about shadow, Saturn, tuxedo. Your brother is leaving you alone. Yeah, is very as deep as despair, self-pity, control issues, crippling pessimism. Falling into that fear leads to a crisis of confidence, leads to pessimism. It can be a time of deep inner destruction and really ruin. You can be overconfident and just have everything collapse around you, or you can be underconfident and make an even bigger mess. You'll also have Mercury in Libra and then into Scorpio, opposite Uranus retrograde in Taurus. So Mercury, again, Mercury in Libra, those facing different perspectives and then exploring something more deeply. Reflect on that. Is that helping you in your journey towards authenticity? Because Uranus is about individuality and authenticity. With all these different perspectives you're looking at, and the one you're deeply exploring, is that really true to you? Ideally, that's what it is. And how is what you're learning and exploring more deeply helping you to become more an individual and more of who you really are? And finding the peace and strength that comes from that. Uh, I think a good word for Taurus is strength. It is the bull. I've never seen a bull be a pushover. I grew up on farms. The shadow here, that indecision and falling into fear and suspicion, pulls life out of balance, and you're becoming less authentic. Instead of being who you really are, you're either acting out just to get a reaction or pointless rebellion, whatever, or selling out and trying to fit in. And that pulls your life out of balance and can actually feed greater uncertainty and other problems. Let's see. On Wednesday morning, we have the moon entering Capricorn, conjunct Pluto for a little bit. It's a little emotional depth there. That'll be very interesting for dreams. Pay attention to your dreams. If you're watching this, pay attention to your dreams beforehand. If you're watching this, after Wednesday, try to remember your dreams, or do take the time to remember your dreams through meditation, whatever. See what messages come up. It can be very interesting. But emotionally, you're ready to get stuff done, to do stuff, to take action. Uh, a time to achieve something. Emotionally, you're up for it. On Wednesday morning at 11:22 a.m. Eastern time, for all those, I'd love for a numerologist to talk about that. But yeah, but we have our first square, and this is a very interesting square because with the sun in Virgo, that is the desire to improve your identity, and you becoming and you learning about that and making like reflecting and looking at that. Am I who I really am? What can I do to become a better version of me? And emotionally, you're saying, well, I want to do that. I want to improve. I want to get better. So this is an opportunity for you, emotionally, for you to strengthen that journey. And I always call Virgo and Capricorn my GSD signs. Get stuff done. You're here to, this transit here is powerful about motivating to do the deep and heavy work. And let me get back to this other. Here we go. Yeah, desire to achieve, strengthening, desire to improve, become a better version of yourself. Heart and soul are seeing what is possible and are willing to face the challenge. So it's very powerful. The shadow here with that square becoming a crushing burden, emotional, lonely. You feel lonely, you feel isolated, you can be a bit of a control freak. You know, teaching people other people how to meditate or how to calm down when you're the one who really needs to calm down. And that becomes a crushing burden on your identity and fuels pessimism and cynicism. This can be a very powerful time for improvement, and this can be a very powerful time for making a big, destructive mess that has you feeling uh, full of self criticism, pessimism, and feeling that life is impossible. Yeah, hair in my mouth, not the way to get fiber. Wednesday, we also have Mercury entering Scorpio. So intellectual depth. This is going from counting numbers and doing like addition, subtraction, multiplication, all that wonderful stuff into doing calculus. You're picking an idea and exploring it deeply. You're Toto pulling back the curtains and wanting to go into stuff more deeply. But in Scorpio, it's more the taboo topics, the things we don't talk about in polite society. Occult, the occult, which really means that which is secret or hidden. Kind of interesting that we have Halloween coming up. We have Mercury entering Scorpio. So open up to exploring ideals in depth, and especially these deeper topics and these taboo topics. Be prepared for deep conversations that call for honesty and also facing deep personal truths. And this is about your ability to learn and communicate. You think you're a great communicator, and someone will walk up to you and say, you really got a lot to learn about that. The shadow here is, that scatterbrained and in Scorpio, words that wound. You can hurt yourself, you can hurt others badly here. Um, be careful of saying things that others may not be ready to hear or saying things that cut too deeply. And you can use words and your thoughts to hurt yourself savagely here. So, think before you speak. Well, think about what you're thinking here too, because your thoughts create your reality. And if you're thinking, really negative and bitter stuff, you're setting yourself up for some pretty miserable life coming up. And Mercury in Scorpio is sextiling Pluto in Capricorn. Yeah, and I have that arrow just to show that it actually is in Scorpio. It just wouldn't flip over for some reason. It didn't look right to me. Sextiles and excitement or interest. So as you're exploring these deeper topics, how is this creating an interest in your transformational journey? How is this helping you to change? How is this helping you to heal deep wounds and do that work of healing deep wounds? Very interesting. Scorpio is the co-ruler of, or Scorpio is co-ruled by Pluto. This can be a more intense time because of that control there. It'd be a very, very powerful time here. Hold on. Yeah, exploring ideas in depth, create interest in the work of transformation, facing the unconscious and doing the work of recovering, healing, and intensity can fuel a desire to complete this work. It can be a very powerful mental time, but the shadow here, that disorganized and falling into these fears and what have you, again, what's it fueling? It's fueling a deep wounding of the self and feelings of loneliness and isolation. Losing perspective, mentally defensive and rigid lead to bitter cynicism towards life, deep feelings of emptiness, and being self-absorbed and moody can result in loneliness. Pity parties stink because very few people come, and those who those who do come usually don't bring gifts. So this is a miserable pity party. And this is going to be this is the Grand Trine really going to feel it late Wednesday here. Jupiter trining Saturn. Um, and I call Jupiter and Saturn the two grandfathers because Jupiter points out opportunity. Jupiter is like going to an amusement park and noticing all the rides and all the games and the petting zoo and the presentations and the food and everything. And Saturn is looking at it and say, pick something, let's do this. So this is your ability to pay attention and notice opportunities and then do something about it. And this is internally. So this is leading to self-growth, self-maturity, stuff like that. Very powerful. Like I said, this is an incredibly powerful time. And it's helping you to transcend. What you're learning is helping you to transcend, see things from a higher perspective, higher understanding, and leading to deeper maturity as a result. Sorry. So what did I have written here as my notes? Yeah, opportunity to learn and open up to new ideas and information, support inner growth and development of integrity and character, opening up to opportunity and help you develop a sense of the higher self and mature and grow in that higher self. Now, the shadow here is that crisis of confidence, feeds deep fears, feeds loneliness, despair, resulting in pessimism, a sense of failure. Scattered focus can lead to a desire just to try to want to escape life because of how miserable it's getting. And that's that grand trine because you now have Mars in Libra feeding into this, that courage to deal with uncertainty and different perspectives, can fuel that opportunity to learn and grow and develop, or that fear can fuel a crisis of confidence and lead to loneliness and despair. And that's just like a perpetual motion machine, just makes a big mess. Now, I do have exact and a double X here because we're going to have in this Saturn, I believe, is going to go direct, and Jupiter will go retrograde during this time. Thursday. So after that Tuesday, Wednesday blast of intensity, Thursday, while these things are happening, do remember to take a breath and pause. Friday, happy Halloween, All Hallows Eve. Moon in Aquarius on Halloween. You know what? Moon in Aquarius. What do you really want to dress up like for on Halloween? Be a kid again. Do it. Do emotional independence. If you got to go to work and be a lawyer, dress up in the suit, be that professional person during the day. But at nighttime, gosh darn it, get up, go out and have fun. Be who you really are. Let that inner child out and just have a blast. The shadow here emotionally is just acting out to get a reaction, or just selling out, trying to fit in, and that leaves you feeling fake and powerless and emotionally frustrated. Coulda, woulda, shoulda. Didn't, stinks. But yeah. So have fun. Go out, buy a costume, be a kid for the night. Saturday. Here we go. This gets to be fun. Venus in Virgo, this builds a T-square here, which I'll be talking about shortly, is opposite Chiron retrograde in Pisces. Now, let's remember, Venus in Virgo is improving, or how can you improve in your relationships? How can you improve in your creativity? But Venus is also rest. If you want to know how you rest well, aside on your birth chart, look in where the IC is for your MMCLE for how you recharge. But also look at Venus, because that's going to tell you how you rest and where you can find peace. So finding that peace, improving and finding peace, does what? Reflect on how does that help you to heal and release wounds. Perhaps you're understanding these wounds from a higher perspective and you're getting insights from others. Or artwork. I had a student who had this incredible piece of art, and I said, wow, that's like really, really, it looked like chaos. And then they took me through and explained everything. It was everything that was a piece of art of everything that they were going through in their life. They couldn't write it out in an essay, but they drew it in pictures, and that was actually part of their healing journey. Really incredible. How can art help you in your healing journey? Or, you know what? It's Saturday. How can taking a day off help you in your healing journey? Reflect on that. The shadow here, being slick, manipulative. Oh, let me get that. Here we go. Being slick and manipulative or shallow, superficial, results in imbalances in life and deeper wounding in your relationships. And it can fuel pessimism and a desire to numb or escape the pains of life and the pains of these relationships. Or rather than resting, just chilling out, maybe eating some healthy food, whatever, you sit down with a six pack. That's not helping you heal at all. It's just a bigger mess. But this is helping to set up a T-square to Jupiter because we already have Jupiter squaring Chiron. On Saturday, the moon will enter Pisces. It enters Aries really early in the day, and it enters Pisces a little bit later in the afternoon. So this is emotional inspiration. You're up for something different. Pay attention to that. So look for vision and what inspires you, and open up to spiritual growth and open up to your inner life. The shadow here is slipping into self-delusion and fantasy or trying to escape a meaningless life. Ick. And here we go. This is that wonderful T-square. I just got to move something out of my way here. Venus is now squaring Jupiter, Venus and Virgo, improving in your relationships, creativity, etc. Is strengthening the opportunity to learn. But as you're learning, that is strengthening your opportunity to heal and release wounds. So this is all working together. Let me pull something up here from my... Jupiter is in a T-square to Venus and Chiron. So Jupiter, with its opportunity to learn, strengthening the dream Venus and Virgo, your ability to become more skilled in relationships, creativity, even better ways of resting. I did a great seminar on this and how to chill out during the workday. And this can help support Chiron and Pisces, your inner healing and release of wounds. So taking new information and insights can help strengthen relationships, release the wounds of the past that have held you back. Also, do the same thing with creativity, your ability to rest. So as these are working and Jupiter is balancing these two energies, it's actually strengthening your opportunity to learn and helping you find confidence in your ability to learn and communicate as well. Jupiter, it's also Gemini is also about that. Your shadow here, ick, crisis of confidence. Getting caught up in unrealistic expectations for yourself or others can create a heavy burden, lead to a crisis of confidence, leading to miscommunication, your attention being scattered, getting focused, making a mess. Oh gosh, and that just leads to deeper wounding of yourself and others. And that becomes a crushing burden and helps to even fuel that crisis of confidence even more, fueling deeper wounding. Ick, another mess. And, it just feels like a crushing burden. I'm just going to leave it at that. I feel like I'm babbling a little bit. I am a little tired. It was another long day at work. Teenagers. And on Sunday, Mars in Libra trining Neptune retrograde in Pisces. Again, that courage to deal with different perspectives. How is that supporting your spiritual journey? And open you up to development of inner peace and your spiritual growth. And embracing that peace and uncertainty can support that development of your higher self and help you understand life from a higher perspective. So do open up to that. The shadow here, falling into fear and getting your life out of whack there, that fuels a desire to escape and numb pain, maybe fall into a fantasy and run away. and can have you feeling like you're caught up in a meaningless and empty life. And that's where we end the week. I apologize for this being incredibly long, but there's a lot going on. Do follow me on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. I do post information on there. I'm also on the digital soul space. These three here are making billions of dollars off your data. Digital Soul Space is hosted on the Mighty Network, which allows you to control how your data is used. You can have your, how it gets set up and what have you. And I call it the spiritual safe space of the internet. 4 moderators who do a great job of keeping trolls out. I do astrology on there, but if you're into crystals, this is a place to go to ask questions. There's tarot, oracle decks, a wide variety of spiritual beliefs for the people who practice Wicca, Native Americanism, Native American for First Nations, Indigenous. People have been talking about shamanism. You name it, it's on there. Very interesting stuff. There's a free version, which gets you limited access. And then there's a paid version, $1.99 a month, less than a cup of coffee, gets you access to the entire site and incredible information. Like I said, these companies are getting billions off of you and not sharing much, if any of it, with you at all. Digital Soul Space, yeah, that $1.99 a month, but you control your data. And again, like I say, it's an incredible space to be on. I learned so much. Readings and packages. If you want to see how your chart changes, you do the quick 6. I hit 6 key points off your chart that give you a solid foundation to work with. Beyond that, the birth or natal chart. Your birth chart in evolutionary astrology is your birth contract. It's who you came here to become. It's the end all goal. I also do what's called a karmic or a past life reading. If you believe in past lives, this is a specific past life that you came here to heal. I tell you what the wound is, how it was created, and then how it can show up in this lifetime, and then how do you heal that wound? If you're a one and done, this is a special lesson you came here to learn. And then, hey, while you're watching this, horoscopes, any 12 months in a row, 1 year, any 3 months in a row, or any 1 month, new moon to new moon, or first of the month to the last of the month. I help you understand what the main transits are, things you should be focused on, and how you can best work with them. And I do offer packages that combine these in different levels. So that's at freedomthroughastrology.com. I do have a newsletter, so if you do go to the site, you'll get a pop-up. All I need is an email, no name, just the email. I'm that good. I'm that nice to you. Hold on a second. I feel like I'm going to sneeze. And if you miss that, just click on the black subscribe button. It'll take you to a page where you can put that information in. I do have the blog page, which I do daily deep dives as best as possible. And on crud. Services is where you place orders for your reading, and under scheduling is where you get the packages, because the first thing we're going to do is I want to meet with you and talk about how this is going to be delivered and what the expectations are, so I'm best meeting them. So thank you very much. Remember, like, follow, share, and in the visible sky, your life changes. Have the best week possible. There's a lot going on. You can handle it. Thank you very much. Have a good and powerful week.